Got a big weekend coming up here in Indianapolis with the NBA All-Stars. I hope that some of you may have the opportunity to join downtown in the celebrations in whatever way you can, or maybe just from your home and having a celebration there. Um, Unfortunately, we have had all this warm weather and now it's cold again. But I'm sure that we will all embrace that for a few more days, knowing that spring is coming soon. We're excited to be talking about collaborating in crisis today. Uh, Terry Stigdon is joining us from the American Red Cross, and we're excited to have her. American Red Cross has been a long time uh, you know, champion in our community for all sorts of things around disaster relief, community building, and safety in lots of different ways. And they are always a collaborative partner. So we're glad to have Terry here with us today. And with that, I will turn it over to Deja.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm loving reading everyone's answers to the entry question. I'm a big basketball fan, so as you can see, I chose the entry question today. So thank you all for your responses. But good morning, everyone, and welcome back. If you are not aware, my name is Deja Cyrus, and I'm the manager of organizational development for our sector support team at United Way of Central Indiana. We're excited to have you all join us for a discussion around collaborating as a community during a time of crisis. So we're kind of piggybacking on our last month's topic of disaster preparedness. So this morning, I'm very excited for you all to hear from Terry Stigdon, who currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of American Red Cross in the Indiana region. Terry, in addition to 30 years of healthcare experience, she has also been appointed by the governor to lead the Department of Child Services. So if anyone, Terry knows firsthand the true importance of working with the community. So please do your best to soak up as much knowledge as you can in the next hour. And Terry, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Deja. What a pleasure it is to be here. I was going to say, like, during that music, it was so good. I kind of felt like it was coffee chat with Terry time. So let's consider this. Jess, I'm going to give you some information, and I'd love to hear your questions. There's so much I can share, and it was hard for me to narrow it down, but hopefully I hit on all the highlights that would hopefully give you just some nuggets of how we already work together, but maybe give you some ideas on how we can be innovative and work together. I love creativity. I saw Tina Klure. Hey, Tina, put a little chat. Oh, miss you, lady. Miss your face. I love you. So it's going to be great to just share some things with all of you today. We're all partners, and this will be some good stuff. So I already practiced this, so let's make sure it works. Deja's and good vibes. All right, hold on. I'm going to move my screens around a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, you can see my screen. And did it move to the partners in disaster?
It did.
Perfect. Okay, we have a winner. All right, so like Deja said, I'm Terry Stigdon. I'm a nurse. I am the CEO for the Indiana region of the Red Cross, and have varied experiences in leadership, but every single position I've had has been collaborating with others to get the job done. So I say that this job is in my wheelhouse. So just some quick, I say housekeeping stuff is to make sure folks know that this is our mission. The American Red Cross was founded by Clara Barton in 1881. So we're creeping up on 150 years here in about 7 years. And our mission is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies. And we do that by mobilizing volunteers and donors, amazing donors, which all of us on this call are familiar with both. So just so everyone knows, I hear from folks that say, well, what does the Red Cross do other than disaster? And the reason I'm sharing this is because I think it would hopefully give you other ideas on how we could continue to work together. But we have 4 service lines, but really 5 areas. So training services, which is CPR, for lay people and for medical professionals, babysitting classes, lifeguarding, things like that. Biomedical services, we do blood collection. The Red Cross provides 40% of the blood supply throughout the nation. We are the largest blood supplier to hospitals throughout the nation. Disaster services, which we're going to talk about today, and that's really what we're known for. Service to the armed forces, kind of a passion of mine. We have a congressional charter to support the military, whether it be at home or overseas. We do deploy Red Crossers to serve alongside our active duty military. And then international services, and there is a program called Restoring Family Links that we do, which is part of the reason we are HIPAA exempt, to try to help connect family members, especially those that have been torn apart due to war or conflict in their nation. So, and there's a focus on global health. So for the Indiana region, although this is Greater Indy, where what I represent and what I'm presenting for, the Indiana region of the Red Cross is broken up into chapters. So we have 6 chapters. The white counties down there on the lower right-hand side in the southeast area, the what is that? Clark, Floyd, and Harrison. Those are in Kentucky. And then I believe that's Ohio. And I can't read the writing, but the one above Ohio, that is a part of the Cincinnati chapter. So this is the region that I'm over as CEO. So for those of you that do have a presence statewide, there are Red Crossers and executive directors I'd want to make sure you know you are connected with in those areas. The yellow area is Greater Indy. That's what I'm over as the RE for the Greater Indianapolis chapter. And that holds most of the counties that United Way Central Indiana focuses on. So disaster services, for those of you that know me, I love pictures. Pictures tell the story, and I love kids. And so you combine the two. I like to see pictures of kiddos. I'm sure you all have heard of disaster cycle services if you work with the Red Cross. Well, there isn't a cycle anymore. We've moved from acute to chronic disasters. You probably already realize that. In 2023 alone, the Red Cross responded to 28 billion disasters. So that's 28 disasters that cost $1 billion or more. That was just in 2023. The number keeps going up every year. So instead of saying that we have a disaster cycle, the reality is that we're responding all the time to disasters. So disaster relief is one of the major services provided through our network. These are the areas that we focus on to prepare, respond, and recover. There is a lot to do in preparing people for disaster, which I think that we have an opportunity to partner with other nonprofits in our area to really get the word out and make sure people are ready when disaster strikes, whether it's a home fire or whether it is a tornado or flood, power outage. There are multiple reasons that people would experience disaster and would need to have a response and would have to have time to recover. Responding, we have disaster action teams. They are throughout the region. And then we also offer sheltering if necessary, mass care response whenever there's a major event. And then recovery. So recovery, we have recovery caseworkers. We have immediate and individual disaster care services where we're able to provide assistance to people immediately. And we also have mental health, spiritual care, and health services. And then we also do referrals for internal and external support. And that's really where we work together well as partners within the community. And we note on there that the Prepare with Pedro and Be Red Cross Ready presentations are available in Spanish. The Red Cross is still working on getting everything translated into at least Spanish. And there are other languages that we have available, but we typically use interpreters for those other languages. So as a Red Cross, we really want to be seen as a trusted partner to address health, housing, and hunger. So when we look at disaster services and response, these are just some of the organizations that we work with. We are a chartered member of the United Way. We are a partner with the United Way nationwide. So not just here in the greater Indianapolis area, but nationwide, the Red Cross and United Way partners throughout the country. I love those national relationships. Salvation Army, we work with all the time. You'll see in that upper right-hand photo, the Salvation Army brought the food, and the Red Cross helps to distribute the food. And so we partner with the Red Cross, partner with Salvation Army to provide, to make sure that people are fed if they've lost their home or they have to leave their home for some period of time while things are a bit unstable. So I want you to know that the intent of the Red Cross is not to be everything to everybody. Under disaster services, we really seek to get people the help they need, and that means connecting them to the local resources who can help them. And so the key is for us to really know who are the contacts in the community, who are the community leaders, formal or informal, because we all know that there's that neighbor, that one lady that lives on the street that watches and knows everything that's going on. Well, who is she, and can we talk to her, and how can we make sure that she has what she needs when everybody comes running to her because they have a need. But we work with everyone that's willing to help. And so that includes everyone listed, faith-based organizations, so churches, any faith of persons that want to work with us to help build up resilience in communities, healthcare organizations, of course, other nonprofits that I didn't list. I just listed the ones that we most commonly work with nationwide. And then, of course, local and state agencies, the Emergency Management Agency, and federal as well, like FEMA. We work with FEMA if the damage is to the extent, well, it's where it's declared by the governor. So home fires. So we have what's referred to as blue sky disasters and gray sky disasters. And under blue sky disasters, which means that the sky could be blue, but there's still a disaster, home fires. We are contacted by referral to respond to a home fire. So just because we have something come up on our Citizens app that says there's a fire, we don't just show up. We are contacted typically by first responders. It could be the dispatch as well, or the fire chief. It could be the landlord. Say there is an apartment fire and they have multiple tenants that won't have a place to stay. It could be the client themselves that we would be working with, or a friend that says, hey, I had a friend that experienced a home fire. There was a loss in the fire. They either lost their pets, or they lost a family member, a child or a parent or a grandparent, uncle, whomever. And we can respond and provide support. I volunteer on the weekends when I have time available as a nurse to help out our health services team. And almost every time I hear, oh my goodness, I had no idea that the Red Cross did this. And they're very grateful that we're able to at least provide the immediate assistance. But my next question as a nurse is, who in your area can help you? Do you know where you can go to for help? The caseworkers do the same thing for them. Because like I said, we don't want to be everything to everybody. But sometimes it's really hard for the person on the phone to go, I have no idea who can help. They think of maybe the treasurer's office, but there are nonprofits in their area that could help too. So if we can establish these relationships and know how we can work together from the beginning, then when I'm on the phone with them, I can say, I know that not just a United Way, but Goodwill in your area can provide this for you, or Firefly could provide this to you, or whatever that they need. This is my urge. I'm just urging everyone for us to have some time where we can get together and figure out what's going on in every chapter so that we can get people referred quickly. Because the sooner they get what they need, the sooner they can get back on their feet. And we don't want to carry folks. We want to give them what they need and help lift them up, but allow them to have that ownership themselves. Now, for multifamily fires, this time of year is a heavy referral time. Furnaces sometimes aren't working right. They kick them off for the first time. Something sparks, there's a house fire, space heaters, and sometimes that people are just trying to get warm the best way they can. This is another way we can heavily partner with our nonprofits. The needs range widely. And sometimes the volume is very high of people that we need to help for a multifamily fire. Fairly recently, a few weeks ago, we had a multifamily fire, and the apartment complex, their corporation was fantastic. They actually took care of the hotel stay, calling and getting permission for people to bring their pets, and then they provided empty units to their tenants to move into as they sorted through what was what they could salvage from the fire. That's not typical. It's amazing, but it's not typical. So we're grateful when there's apartment complexes that have the capacity to support people in that way. But the tenants, the clients, they continue to have needs that we can all work together to serve and help them with. So just since January 1st of this year, we've had 352 cases of home fires and served 1,027 individuals. And in those fires, we have 15 households with lives saved, and that includes 13 youth. And we count lives saved when we've been able to get in, install a smoke detector, and that smoke alarm saved a life. Because once that smoke alarm goes off, they really have 2 minutes to get out of that house. 2 minutes isn't a long time. And we have, unfortunately, in the state, in Indiana, have experienced, or in the region, I'm sorry, have experienced multiple deaths from fires since the first of the year. So we're doing everything we can to prevent that. So sheltering. So Indiana folks don't like to stay in shelters, and I can appreciate that. But part of that is the community, I believe, that is experienced throughout the region, so that if someone doesn't have a place to stay, they can find a place to stay. So thankfully, knock on wood, we don't typically have to open up shelters as often as other states do. So if the EOC is activated, the emergency operations plan for the county takes effect. So whatever county you're in, that's going to take effect. Now, the volunteer management is typically under the community organizations active in disaster or another volunteer agency. So the COAD is, or another volunteer agency would be in charge of managing volunteers. So if there is a sheltering need, sometimes we'll have folks that say, I want to help. I'll just show up at the Red Cross office, or I'll just show up at the shelter. Well, there is a process involved. So as a nonprofit, if you have volunteers, know what that process is for your county, if the EOC is activated, so you can help funnel volunteers in the right direction. There are some folks that say, I don't really want to be a volunteer all the time, but I have the time now and I can volunteer for a shelter. Just have them call 1-800-RED Cross. We can walk them through the process. And if you want to help with sheltering, if we have to open a shelter, please come on over. We would love to have you. Many hands make light work, and I greatly appreciate that. In the greater Indianapolis area, we have United Way Central Indiana to assist with making sure that we get volunteers to the right place. But contacting the Red Cross, we will get them to the right place so that they don't just show up on site and potentially get in the way of help being delivered to people that have experienced a disaster. Watching my time. Okay. So a large scale disaster, the COAD or the EMA is a coordination point. We are lucky in Indiana to have a very strong Indiana volunteer or VOAD that works with the local COADs to organize support during the time of disaster. And like I mentioned on the last slide, for the Greater Indy chapter, United Way Central Indiana is our primary partner to help us with coordinating volunteers. So grateful for that partnership. And then for long-term recovery, there will be a long-term recovery committee that will stand up through the support of United Way and other nonprofit partners. Recovery takes a long time. And everyone on this call, you're not new to that. You know that, but it takes coordination early on to, first of all, not to overwhelm people that have experienced loss due to a large scale disaster, but to make sure that we are keeping track of the needs that are getting met, because we are accountable for dollars that we spend. And so when we are writing reports, doing our stewardship reports to our donors to say this is what the money is used for, we want to make sure that we're very organized and know where everything went. So that coordination and knowledge ahead of time is critical. And that's why I say, instead of just having people show up to help, we really want to make sure everything is coordinated through the EMA or the COAD to provide that that organized process. Organized in chaos, it can be done. It has been done and it can be done. So for a quick second, I'm going to switch gears and talk about what's coming up on April 8th. Who can come off mute real quick? I can't see you, but who can come off mute real quick and say what's happening on April 8th?
The solar eclipse.
Yes, the total eclipse of the heart. That's what I call it. Because, it's going to be spring in Indiana. So who knows whether or not we'll be able to see it really, right? But just want to talk about this really quickly because in our positions, we really want to make sure that we are prepared just in case. So this is the trajectory of the eclipse. And I have a little zoomed in picture here that shows Indiana, and we are right in the path of the eclipse. So the purple line above so there's the black band that goes through it, and you'll see it says 3:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, Indianapolis. So the purple line above that black band, that purple line, it goes through Chicago and Lake Michigan, if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. That means that there will be 95% obscuration of the sun in those areas. So the purple band above and purple band below. So we are in the band of we will see the complete obscuration of the sun. It will be about 3 to 4 minutes of complete obscuration with the maximum effect at 3:10. And then there'll be partial obscuration, of course, because it starts to cover and then it comes off about 75 minutes before and 75 minutes after. So that is a few hours of folks that will be watching, hopefully to see the eclipse. And so why do we care with what we do, and why do we care from a disaster perspective? We care because could be tens of thousands, maybe 100,000, they expect people flocking to Indiana to view the eclipse. So right now at the Red Cross, we're meeting with EMAs throughout the region, and our plan is to have shelter teams available on standby in every chapter. Remember that map I showed you earlier? There will be standby teams in every chapter, or shelter teams in every chapter, as well as making sure we have supplies ready in case there is something that occurs and we need to respond to a large volume of people at once. There will be 5 groups of people in Marion and Hamilton County, just simply due to population density. And then the command structure will be in place with a virtual watch floor all day. We also will have a representative in place at the State Emergency Operations Center, just to keep an eye on things as we go. We're hoping for it to be smooth sailing, and hopefully nothing happens. But while we're doing this and we have everyone gathered, we're also going to have an exercise on communication that day, because everyone will already be gathered. It will be a chance for us to practice our skills and make sure that we are prepared in the case of a future disaster. But some ways we can be prepared is to understand that there's going to be high volume traffic. If the forecast is that it's going to be sunny or maybe even partly cloudy, we could experience high volume traffic. So if you have teen drivers, you want them to this is going to be on a Monday, of course, a school day, hopefully spring break for a lot of the kids. But teen drivers would want to be very alert, not just for all the volume of people, but also for animals. There could be behavior changes because it's going to look like night. If you have chickens like I do, they'll probably go into the coop and be really confused and come back out again a few hours later, thinking that it's the next day. And also animals can look up and it could damage their eyes. And so they could wander. And so you want to be very careful when you're driving. Streets are could be blocked to allow for emergency vehicles to get through in case there is an emergency. Those are for those that have the red and blues that have the lights and sirens. But if you have a vehicle where you're responding to a potential disaster, we don't necessarily have that clearance or that leeway to get through. So just be prepared for in case something happens. If we're prepared, then my hope is that nothing will happen. So be on the lookout for large gatherings. If you have a wide open parking lot and you are here in the Marion County area and you have an open parking lot that people can get to for free, people will likely want to park there and sit and watch. The areas of like right in the middle of that black band are a little bit more rural. So my hope is that they'll probably be more in Shelby, Johnson County, but we could see a large influx of people in Marion County because regardless of where the actual middle of the line is of where you'll see complete obscuration, it's that whole band, and that does cover Marion County. So be prepared for that. And I would love to hear after I finish what you guys are doing just to be prepared for the eclipse. So this is my call to action. How can we work together more? So it would help for all of us, not just the Red Cross. I'm speaking for all of us to know what immediate or recovery resources do you have? Would a food pantry that you have extra resources or connections that could provide food replacement should there be a need? Can you scale up? If there is a need and it's minimal, can you potentially provide more? Do you have connections? If the impact is Marion County, do you have connections throughout the state or maybe throughout the nation that could bring resources here into Marion County? Cross training. So we are always looking for folks for cross training, for sheltering, or for a mass casualty response for people. Can your location be a shelter with or without trained people? Like if we provided the volunteers, do you have the space to shelter folks? And then disaster mental health and disaster health services. So we are always in the need of people that can provide mental health support or health services support. So for mental health support, you have to be licensed, licensed mental health therapist, licensed social worker, clinical social worker. But anyone that can respond to help during response and recovery, they can make their own hours, they're volunteer, but even people that think that they have it together when a disaster strikes, we all need help. So having those mental health professionals on hand that can just really step in temporarily would be critical. And then nurses, we need nurses and other medical professionals who can help support health needs. That's why I do call on Sunday to help my team, just to help alleviate a shift a week for them. But it's virtual. Most of it is virtual. I've only responded to a hospital once, but it is a great way to connect with people and help them with their needs. And this visual, these logos were just, these are just logos that I could pull off to say, this is how, these are folks that we work with all the time, and would love to see how we can work together better. So you may have heard do community, and I don't know how many of you have heard that in the region. I kind of like be community as far as instead of doing community, we should be the community. We are a part of the community. We are the community. And so some things that we're doing that if you want to partner with us with this and just come out and play with us, we'd be happy to have all hands on deck. We do a home fire campaign. We do them throughout the year where we do canvassing and put door hangers. If someone wants us to install an alarm, we have the supplies and we can install a smoke alarm that day. And we have Sound the Alarm in Marion County on the east side, May 4th and 5th. And we hope to hit hundreds of houses and hopefully install lots of smoke alarms during those 2 days. It's an area that is hard hit by fires. There have been some deaths in the area, and we want to do what we can to prevent that. We have blood drives. If you ever want to host a blood drive in your building or just get folks together, we're happy to partner with you with that. And then veteran stand downs. We do a lot of work with veterans. Like I said, we have a congressional charter to support the military. So if you do work with veterans, we'd love to partner with you with that. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention legislation. So for those of you that work with me when I was at the state, you probably thought she never wants to have anything to do with another piece of legislation ever again. But this is, I actually really love the process. And so just to let you know about legislation, there were several bills that were impacting us from a disaster standpoint. And I know that there is a meeting, I think later today, United Way, you guys are having a meeting about policy. But these are three that I saw that are actually still alive and moving. Trauma-informed care for nurses. I love this one, actually, that nurses should complete trauma-informed care training at least every 2 years. These are nurses with an active license. To be a nurse volunteer, you need to have an active license, of course, to be a nurse volunteer. But this is fantastic because I think the assumption is that nurses have this training and they don't. And the hearing, it has all of these three have passed through the Senate. They are now have been assigned to committees and will be heard in the House. So this one is assigned to the Public Health Committee. And then Senate Bill 190, I actually talked to Senator Carrasco at the blood drive on Wednesday. The State Disaster Relief Fund, she said it was unanimously supported by the Senate and passed through, which I was really excited for her because that's an exciting moment to not have to fight for your bill. But it increases the amount of compensation from $10,000 to $25,000 for an individual that's experienced disaster. I need to read through it again because I thought there was some language in there that actually applied to organizations that support disaster relief. So if you haven't read through it, read through it. If you have a lobbyist, make sure that they're aware of it as well if you provide disaster relief. And then Senate Bill 234, disaster emergency. This one has come out of the COVID emergency, but it does impact any future disasters. So if the governor declares a state of disaster emergency, it would expire after 30 days. This is interesting. I would love to hear the conversation around that. I'm hoping that when it's heard that I at least have some time to log in and listen to hear about the conversation, but keep an eye on that because that could impact us as well. And that one is in public health. Oh, I'm sorry. And the previous one, the State Disaster Relief Fund, is assigned to Veteran Affairs and Public Safety Committee. So I know I talk fast and I went through a lot, but if you have any other questions, take a picture of this slide. So Brittany Crow is our disaster program manager for the Greater Indianapolis chapter. So she is your contact person if there's anything that you need or have any questions. If you hear from someone that they need smoke alarms, she's the one to call. If you have any other like general questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me. But if you ask me a disaster question, I'm going to get you to Brittany. Either way, we will get your question answered. More than happy to help and serve in any way possible. So with that, ooh, I need a drink of coffee. Okay, I'll stop sharing maybe. Where's the button? Oh, there it is. All right.
Thank you so much, Terry. There was just a lot of useful information there. So I want to start off by just opening up the floor for any questions. If you feel comfortable coming off mute and asking, or feel more comfortable dropping your question in the chat, I do want to open it up for a Q&A from our attendees and those who are listening right now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Tina said thank you. It is great information. One of the questions I have is there, so if I'm someone who works at a nonprofit organization and all of the resources that American Red Cross is able to offer or connect us with in the community, is there a landing page or a resource that community members like myself can reference in the event that they encounter an emergency or a crisis and need housing or food or whatever the case may be? Is there somewhere that I can go to that has all of that at one place?
Honestly, the best thing to do is call 1-800-RED Cross. Versus trying to scroll through a website. You can always go to redcross.org. And I believe it's /Indiana. I think Louise is on here. I'm calling for a lifeline, Louise.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Thanks. But 1-800-RED Cross really is the best way because you'll get someone right away and they can get you to the right person. But you can always go to redcross.org/Indiana.
Okay, that is very helpful. And it looks like Rachel Stouter of Salvation Army said, are you still looking for places to host blood drives in Central Indiana?
Always. So the reason we're always looking for places is because we might have a group that wants to sponsor and they'll advertise and get people there, but they don't have a location that will work. And so we would love to work with you, Rachel. And if the Salvation Army has space that they would be willing to let us use for blood drives. So I'd love to connect with you on that.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. And then one of the other questions that we had were, what advice would you give to an organization leader that's facing challenges when they're attempting to collaborate with other organizations in a crisis?
I call the person in charge. So I would tell, so that has always been my philosophy, even when I was at the hospital. If you're having trouble working through stuff, just find who the CEO, the director, commissioner, whoever it is, and reach out to that person and just say, it's really difficult to get what I need. And I really want to work with you, but I'm having trouble working through this. Because they may not know. I will say that for me, I don't want to put our other leaders on the hot seat for that. But knowing some of you, I know you feel the same way. Like, better just call me if you're having issues, and then I can help figure out where the barrier is. I'm a barrier buster at heart. So if there's something I can do to get you to what you need, just pick up the phone. That's why I put my phone number up there.
Okay, perfect. And I think I do have that included in the slide, so I'll be sure to include both yours and Brittany's contact information when I send out the follow-up email with all the resources. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone?
It looks like there might be one in the chat from Karen Ogden of Ronald McDonald House. Who are the big providers of trauma-informed care in Central Indiana?
As far as who trains trauma-informed care, is that the question?
Karen, are you open?
Yes, I am. That's exactly my question. We are looking to get staff, all of our staff and volunteer trained, and I know that there probably are big providers who can provide training and opportunities for our folks to become trainers.
I would love.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. It's a great question. And I'd love for folks to come off mute if you do trauma-informed care. Since I was at DCS, I had the benefit of knowing that they have trauma-informed care instructors at the state. Tina, you're like right there. Do you teach trauma-informed care, Tina? You do, don't you, at Firefly?
Yeah, yes, we do. And we do it around the state for other providers.
So this is exactly what my slide was about. Well, what is it that you can offer that we can all work together on? So Deja, it would be great to know, out of all our partners that work together with this call, who teaches trauma-informed care and contact information.
Mhm.
Not that, I mean, regardless of the legislation, like you heard, there are people looking for folks that can train.
Yeah, I mean, I can collaborate or connect with my leadership and see if we already have something like that written in documentation. But I mean, kind of serving into the point of the topic that you were discussing today, collaboration, it's necessary. And if we can all connect and share our resources and share them with the community, then we're all serving the greater purpose. So I'm sure that's an area of opportunity that we can all take advantage of.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Or any questions in general? I mean, I have chickens and ducks that will all go inside during the eclipse.
I'd love to learn more about the chickens and ducks, but I actually have a call related to collaboration, if that's all right.
Yes.
So I think, and hopefully some folks on the call can relate, but I think it's just so easy to get, to have blinders on when, when things go wrong, or when, with just the workload that often, many of us are shouldering. And so I'm wondering if you have any advice for nonprofits to sort of work that muscle, to look towards partnership, or, how we can sort of train ourselves or exercise that yeah, instinct to collaborate, given everything that you mentioned and how we're so much stronger together.
Sure. And I don't want to be disingenuous. I am new to the nonprofit world. Before this, I was in government for 5.5 years. And before that, I was at the hospital for most of my nursing career. But what I've learned in all those areas is it takes work and it takes time. It doesn't naturally happen as much as that we would love that. So it's calling people, setting up time. Hey, let's have coffee. Can we do a quick call in the morning? And I mean, continual touch bases. It can't be one and done. It's never one and done. But to have those continued relationships, which Tina, I'm going to be reaching out so we can have breakfast sometime soon. But it does take work to collaborate. I say collaboration is a word that's thrown around all the time because it's beautiful and it's fuzzy and warm, but it's hard behind the scenes because you have to continue to put in the work. So thanks, Larry. So that's my advice is to reach out. That's why I make sure people have my phone number or my email. I will always loop in Louise. I really try hard not to schedule things on my own because I don't want to make her life more difficult. So I always include Louise because she does a great job of making sure that I can be where I need to be without rushing around or being pressed for time. But please, I will reach out to you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Absolutely.
And yes, Julie. So what Julie put in the chat, absolutely right. Those relationships before something happened, critical. Because then when something does happen, it's a quick pick up the phone or a text and, hey, we're in your area. FYI, can you help? Or you could be impacted. Your organization, your building could be impacted by a disaster. And just to know that you could pick up the phone and say, hey, Terry, this is going on. Or I can say, hey, help's on the way. Those relationships beforehand are critical. So if you guys start getting a lot of meeting requests right after this, it's my fault. And I gladly accept that responsibility.
I love that. Call to action. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Terry. For anyone who is interested, like I said, I will be dropping Terry's and Brittany's contact information in the follow-up email that I will send out to all of our attendees today. If you do have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me as well, and I can connect you if need be. I'll drop my email in the chat as well. But right now, I'm going to transition and hand it over to Ashley Furwa of United Way of Central Indiana to discuss our Go All In Day.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm here to talk about our Go All In Day, which if you're not familiar, it is a one-day volunteer event. And Dave, I'm gonna share my screen here if you don't mind. So we last year were able to bring over 1,400 volunteers to 65 different organizations across our 7-county footprint. And we are doing it again this year. So on June 21st this year is our Go All In Day. And what I'm showing up on the screen is a quick form that we have, and I'll put a link in the chat to this form for you to express interest for your organization to participate this year. So you don't have to know right now exactly what project you might want to do or how many volunteers you want to take. If you want to just fill out this quick form, and you can see it's literally just these questions and then you hit submit. So not a huge time suck on your part. That will ensure that we get your name and your organization included on the list, and that our team gets in contact with you later on to sort of hash through what the specific opportunities that you might have for that day would be, so that we can put those out and try and map some volunteers over to you guys for that day. I will say also, if you are thinking, oh man, we would love to spruce up the garden, or we would love to do XYZ project, but we just don't have the funds to do that. And, we need to stay mission focused. totally understand. We do actually have some dollars to go along with these projects for some of our organizations. And so once you sign up for interest in having a volunteer project, and once our team gets in touch with you about what your specific project is, there will also be opportunity for applying for some funding to help support the cost of the volunteer project. So that's kind of what I wanted to share. Like I said, I will really quick drop this link into the chat and stop sharing my screen. But if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer if I can figure out how to stop sharing.
Ashley, Julie asked in the chat, does an organization have to be a United Way of Central Indiana accredited partner to receive volunteers for Go All In Day?
No, and actually, you don't have to be an accredited, accredited organization for us to help you match with volunteers throughout the year. So we have a portal where you can put your volunteer opportunities on and share that 24/7 all of the year long. And I'd be happy, we can put my email in the chat to get you connected with one of our team members to help you get those volunteer opportunities up. And yeah, certainly don't have to be an accredited partner to participate in Go All In Day either.
Perfect. And yeah, Ashley, if you have any
Link.
other resources you want to drop in the chat, feel free. Ashley's a great resource for this as well. I've found that anytime you can go to Ashley, she will have a response to your question or a resource for you. So please feel free to take advantage. It's a great opportunity to deploy our volunteers into the community. So thank you for sharing, Ashley. Thanks for joining in and sharing that with us.
Of course. Thanks for letting me. And I hope all of you rush in and add your interest in, and that we can get volunteers out to each one of your organizations.
Absolutely, for sure. All right, Sarah, I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Ashley. I know from past Go All In days, we're really open to kind of talking through with you if you have a couple project ideas and you're not sure which one would be the best one or the best fit. Feel free to fill out that form, and then we'll have conversations with you. Like Ashley said, it doesn't need to be set right now. We're just really trying to make connections so that we can make sure that we have as many organizations that have projects to be able to engage around that. So looking forward to that day. Terry, thank you for all the information that you shared. The resilience work that the American Red Cross does across our community is really tremendous. In all the different categories of work that you were sharing, and in the neighborhood work that I know that you do on the East Side, and just throughout all of that, it's really tremendous leadership that your organization does in our community. So we're really grateful for you sharing some of that wisdom with us here today, and for helping to make some connections. Like Julie said, the figuring out how to collaborate now is the way to get ahead of that when something challenging happens. I know that we found that to be true when the pandemic hit. These calls actually stemmed from that, because there were a lot of people who needed to be connecting to each other in order to solve the problems that were daily coming up. And because we had these relationships, we were able to get people on the phone and be problem solving together. So it was some great solutions that came from just having those relationships and that collaboration. Thank you, everybody, for giving some time here on your Friday morning. You're getting 10 minutes back. You'll have time to get more coffee and use the restroom before your 9:30 meeting. And hope that you have a great weekend and find some time to celebrate, either in conjunction with the NBA All-Star, or just taking some time with your friends, your family, or to yourself. We all need a little bit of that too. So enjoy, and thank you. Take care.
And then is there a way to end recording?